The blue light from my phone screen hurt my eyes in the darkness of my bedroom. 11:47 p.m. I should have been asleep, should have been resting for my early shift at Metro Children's Hospital, but something told me to check Facebook one more time. That something was about to change my life. There it was. A photo of a woman in a tight red dress, perfectly styled hair cascading over her shoulders, standing next to my ex-husband Trevor in what looked like an expensive restaurant. Her smile was wide and triumphant. His arm wrapped around her waist possessively. But it was not the image that made my breath catch. It was the caption. Finally, he has a real woman who takes care of herself, unlike some people. Real men appreciate women who make an effort. So blessed. I sat up in bed reading it again. Then again. The post was public. Completely public. Sienna had tagged Trevor, tagged the restaurant, added location tags. She wanted the world to see this. She wanted me to see this. My thumb hovered over the screen. 2 years had passed since I discovered Trevor's affair with Sienna. 2 years since I filed for divorce with quiet dignity while he scrambled to explain, to justify, to somehow make me understand that what he did was not really his fault. 2 years since I walked away from our house, our shared accounts, our decade together, taking only what was mine and never looking back. I had built a new life. A better life. My daughter Imani, now 16, had watched me rise from that pain like it was a lesson she needed to learn. I became the head pediatric nurse at Metro Children's Hospital. I volunteered at youth centers on weekends. I bought a modest but comfortable apartment in a safe neighborhood. I focused on healing, on growing, on being the example my daughter needed. And here was Sienna 2 years later, still thinking about me enough to post this. I looked at the comments already accumulating beneath the photo. Friends of theirs, people I used to know, offering congratulations and heart emojis. Some I recognized from our old circle. People who had chosen sides when the marriage ended. People who believed whatever story Trevor and Sienna had told them. My finger moved almost without conscious thought. I clicked like on the post. Then I typed 3 words in the comments section. Just 3 words. I hit post, and set my phone face down on my nightstand. My heart pounded, but not from anger. Something else. Something that felt almost like closure. Sleep came easier than I expected. The memory of how I discovered the affair still visited me sometimes, usually in quiet moments. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I had left work early because of a migraine, something that rarely happened. I came home to our house in the suburbs, the house Trevor and I had bought together 5 years into our marriage. The house we had painted room by room, where we had hosted family gatherings, where we had talked about our future. His car was in the driveway. That was the first odd thing. He was supposed to be at a construction site across town, managing the build on a new commercial complex. I walked in through the front door and heard laughter upstairs. Female laughter that was not from any television. My migraine forgotten, I climbed those stairs with my heart already knowing what my mind refused to accept. Their bedroom door was open. My bedroom door. And there they were. Trevor saw me first. His face went white. The woman, Sienna, turned slowly, and I will never forget the look on her face. It was not shame. It was not even surprise. It was calculation. Like she was measuring me, judging me, determining if I was a threat to what she wanted. I did not scream. I did not cry. I stood there for exactly 10 seconds, memorizing every detail of that moment, then turned and walked back down the stairs. Trevor followed me, pulling on clothes, words tumbling out of his mouth in a desperate stream. How it just happened. How he never meant to hurt me. How Sienna understood him in ways I never could. How the stress of his business had made him vulnerable. How I was always so focused on my career, on helping other people's children, that I had stopped seeing him. I packed a bag that afternoon while he talked. I called my daughter and told her to meet me at her grandmother's house. I contacted a lawyer that evening. I filed for divorce within a week. Trevor tried everything to change my mind. Flowers, letters, late-night calls. Promises that he would end things with Sienna, that he would go to counseling, that he would do whatever it took. His mother called me, crying, begging me to reconsider. His sister sent me long text messages about forgiveness and second chances. I remained silent through all of it. My lawyer did the talking. The divorce was finalized 8 months later. Trevor moved in with Sienna 2 weeks after our decree was final. They got married 6 months after that. And I moved on. Imani handled it better than I expected. She was 14 when it happened, old enough to understand what betrayal meant. She had always been perceptive, my daughter. She knew something was wrong in our marriage before I admitted it to myself. When I told her about the divorce, she hugged me and said, "You deserve better than him, Mom. You always did." She was not even Trevor's biological daughter, though he had helped raise her since she was 4. Her real father had not been in the picture since before she could walk. Trevor adopted her legally when we married, gave her his last name, showed up to her school events. For 10 years he was the only father she knew. After the affair, Imani changed her name back to mine. She told Trevor she was disappointed in him, and then she stopped calling him Dad. Just Trevor, after that, when she had to refer to him at all. Her choice. I never pushed her either way. Now, lying in my bed at nearly midnight, I thought about how far we had both come. Imani was thriving in school, talking about colleges, making plans for her future. I was thriving too in ways I never had when I was married to Trevor. I had freedom. The ability to make decisions without checking with someone who might undermine them. Sienna's post was not about Trevor at all. It was about me. About proving something to me, to herself, to anyone who might compare us. She needed me to know she had won. But what had she won exactly? I fell asleep with that question unanswered, my phone still face down beside me, the 3 words I had typed already working their way through the internet like a small stone creating ripples across still water. By morning, those ripples would become waves. My alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. The hospital needed me by 7 for morning rounds, and I liked to get there early to review patient charts before the chaos of the day began. I showered, dressed in my scrubs, and made coffee while mentally preparing for the day ahead. Imani stumbled into the kitchen around 6, still in her pajamas, hair wrapped in a silk bonnet. She had her phone in her hand and her eyes were wide. "Mom, did you see what's happening online?" I poured coffee into my travel mug. "What's happening online?" "That post. From Sienna. Your comment." She turned her phone toward me. "It's everywhere." I took the phone from her hand. Sienna's post was gone. Completely deleted. Her profile picture was different, her privacy settings appeared to be locked down. But screenshots of the original post had been shared across multiple platforms. And beneath each screenshot, my 3-word comment appeared like a quiet bomb that had detonated in slow motion. "Ask your accountant." 3 simple words that apparently meant something to people who knew things I did not. The likes on my comment, before Sienna deleted everything, had reached over 200. The shares had climbed even higher. People were tagging others, making their own comments about what my words might mean. Speculation ran wild in various comment threads. "She blocked you," Imani said, taking her phone back. "And she changed all her privacy settings to friends only. But people already took screenshots. Rochelle texted me this morning asking if you were okay." Rochelle. My best friend since college, the one person outside of Imani who knew every detail of my marriage and divorce. The one who had helped me move out of the house I shared with Trevor, who had sat with me through crying sessions, who had taken Imani shopping for her school dance when I was too emotionally exhausted to get out of bed. I pulled out my own phone and saw 15 missed calls from Rochelle. 23 text messages. All from the last hour. I called her back while Imani made herself breakfast. "Naomi." Rochelle's voice was breathless with excitement. "What did you do?" "I left a comment on a Facebook post." "You left the comment on that post? Girl, do you know what you started?" "I left 3 words, Rochelle. That's all." 3 words that apparently mean something very specific to people who know Sienna's history. Papers rustled in the background. Rochelle was at her office, probably already deep into her work as a paralegal at a downtown firm. People are talking. Old friends of hers from her previous relationship are coming out of the woodwork. There are stories, Naomi. Stories about money and debt and credit cards. My coffee suddenly tasted bitter. What kind of stories? The kind that explain why her ex-husband divorced her after only 2 years of marriage. The kind that involve spending problems and hidden accounts and maxed out credit cards he did not know about until it was too late. Rochelle paused. "Apparently your comment hit on something real. Something people who knew her before have been waiting to talk about." I sat down at the kitchen table. Imani watched me while eating her cereal. "I did not know any of that," I said quietly. "I just wrote what came to mind." "Well, it was either the most informed comment ever made or you have some kind of psychic intuition about people." Rochelle laughed, but it was not entirely humor in her voice. "Trevor must be losing his mind right now." Trevor. I had not thought about his reaction. The post was meant to humiliate me, but my comment had turned the spotlight in a completely different direction. "I have to get to work," I said. "Can we talk later?" "Of course. But Naomi, be careful. Sienna seems like the type who does not handle embarrassment well." After we hung up, I finished getting ready and kissed Imani goodbye. The drive to Metro Children's Hospital took 20 minutes through morning traffic. I listened to music instead of the news, trying to center myself before a long day. The hospital was busy as always. Sick children and worried parents filled the waiting areas. I greeted the other nurses, reviewed the charts for my rounds, and threw myself into the work I loved. For 8 hours, I did not think about Facebook posts or ex-husbands or women who spent money they did not have. But during my lunch break, sitting in the hospital cafeteria with a wilted salad and a bottle of water, I checked my phone again. More messages. More missed calls. People I had not heard from in years were reaching out. Old friends from when Trevor and I were married. Neighbors from our old subdivision. Even Trevor's cousin, who I had always liked, sent me a private message saying she was sorry for believing Sienna's version of events. What events? What version? I realized I did not know what story they had told people after our divorce. I had been so focused on moving forward that I never asked what narrative they had constructed to explain why our marriage ended. I assumed people knew the truth because the truth was simple. Trevor had an affair. I filed for divorce. We went our separate ways. But apparently there was another story. One where I was the villain somehow. One where I had failed as a wife, where I had driven Trevor away with my career focus and my emotional distance. One where Sienna was the hero, the woman who appreciated Trevor in ways I never could. My salad sat uneaten as I scrolled through messages. People were apologizing. People were admitting they had judged me unfairly. People were saying they should have known better than to believe rumors. By the time my lunch break ended, I felt exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with my work shift. The afternoon brought new revelations. Rochelle sent me links to posts from people who knew Sienna from her previous marriage. They were not mean-spirited exactly, but they were honest. Stories about expensive purses and luxury vacations that appeared on credit card statements. Stories about lies regarding money and savings and shared financial goals. Stories about a woman who looked perfect on the outside but left chaos in her wake. I did not share these links. I did not comment on any of the posts. I simply observed as the truth about who Sienna was began to spread through the social media networks we once shared. When I got home that evening, Imani was in the kitchen making dinner. She had taken over cooking responsibilities lately, enjoying the independence and the creative outlet. Tonight it was pasta with vegetables, simple but filling. Trevor called me today, she said without looking up from the stove. I set my work bag down. What did he say? He wanted to know if you were okay. He said Sienna was upset about something you posted. Imani stirred the pasta sauce. I told him I did not want to talk to him about you. That if he had questions he should ask you directly. What did he say to that? He hung up. She turned to face me finally. Mom, are you okay? Really okay? I walked over and hugged my daughter. She had grown so much in the past 2 years. Not just physically, though she was nearly my height now. She had grown in maturity, in wisdom, in understanding that life was complicated and people made mistakes. I am okay, I told her honestly. Better than okay actually. We ate dinner together while she told me about her day at school. Her AP chemistry class was challenging but interesting. Her friend group was planning a weekend movie night. She was thinking about joining the debate team for her junior year. Normal things. Good things. The kind of things that mattered more than drama on social media. After dinner, while Imani did her homework, I sat on my small balcony with a cup of tea and watched the sun set over the city. My phone buzzed constantly with new notifications, but I ignored them all. 3 words. That was all it took to start something I never intended to start. I had not set out to expose Sienna or to cause problems in her marriage to Trevor. I had simply responded to her public attempt to humiliate me with a comment that turned out to be more accurate than I knew. Ask your accountant. It was almost funny how perfect those words were. How they addressed the root of who Sienna was without me even knowing the full story. Intuition maybe. Or just experience with people who needed to project an image of perfection to hide what was broken underneath. My phone rang. This time it was a number I did not recognize. I let it go to voicemail. When I checked the message later, it was Trevor. His voice sounded strained, angry. Naomi, we need to talk. Sienna is upset and this whole thing is getting out of control. I know you are probably happy about this, but it's affecting my business. People are asking questions. Call me back. I deleted the message without responding. His business problems were not my concern. His wife's embarrassment was not my responsibility. I had moved on from that life and I refused to be pulled back into it now. That night, before bed, I checked Facebook one final time. My comment had been shared over 1,000 times. The screenshots had spread to other platforms. People were discussing Sienna's spending habits, Trevor's apparent blindness to red flags, and the irony of her post backfiring so spectacularly. I felt no satisfaction from any of it. No joy in their discomfort. Just a quiet relief that maybe, finally, people understood that I had not been the problem in my marriage. That my silence after the divorce had been strength, not weakness. That walking away with dignity was its own form of justice. I turned off my phone and went to sleep, wondering what tomorrow would bring. The morning sun streamed through my bedroom window, and I woke feeling lighter than I had in months. There was something freeing about the truth being out in the world, even if I had not been the one to share it. Sienna's own past had caught up with her, and my 3 words had simply been the catalyst. I made coffee and checked my phone. Dozens more messages waited, but one caught my attention. It was from Trevor's mother, Patricia. "Naomi, I owe you an apology. I believed what Trevor told me about why your marriage ended. I should have known better. You were always good to my son and to Imani. I am sorry." I stared at the message for a long moment before typing a response. "Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate that. I hope you are well." Short, polite, final. I had no desire to reopen relationships with Trevor's family, but I could acknowledge her apology with grace. At work that day I focused on my patients. A 6-year-old girl recovering from appendicitis. Twin boys with respiratory infections. A teenager dealing with complications from diabetes. These children needed my attention and care, and they received it fully. The drama of social media could not touch me here, in this space where real lives hung in the balance. During my afternoon break, my supervisor called me into her office. Dr. Helena Price was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s, someone I respected deeply for her medical expertise and her commitment to pediatric care. "Naomi, I wanted to talk to you about something," she said, gesturing for me to sit. "The board has been discussing expanding our consultation services. We have smaller hospitals in rural areas that struggle with pediatric care because they do not have specialized staff. They need guidance on best practices, training for their nurses, protocols for handling complex cases." I listened, unsure where this was going. "We want to create a position for someone to lead this initiative. Someone who understands pediatric care at the highest level, who can communicate effectively with medical staff at all levels, and who has the dedication to make a real difference." She smiled. "We think you would be perfect for it." My heart started beating faster. What exactly would this position involve? You would still work here part-time, maintaining your connection to our patients. But you would also travel to these rural hospitals, assess their needs, develop training programs, and provide ongoing consultation. It would mean a significant pay increase and the opportunity to impact pediatric care across the entire state. I thought about Imani, about our life together, about the stability we had built. Then I thought about how many children could benefit from better trained staff, better protocols, better care. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. Take a week. Talk it over with your daughter. This is a big decision." Dr. Price stood and extended her hand. "But Naomi, I want you to know that we see your value here. Your dedication, your skill, your heart for these children. Whatever you decide, we are grateful to have you on our team." I left her office feeling valued in a way I had not felt in years. When I was married to Trevor, my career was always secondary to his. His construction business came first, his networking events took priority, his needs shaped our schedule. After the divorce, I had the freedom to pursue my own professional goals without apology or compromise. That evening, Imani and I sat together on the couch while I told her about the job offer. "That's amazing, Mom," she said immediately. "You should do it. It would mean travel. Sometimes overnight trips. You would be home alone more often." She rolled her eyes. "Mom, I am 16. I can handle being home alone. Plus, Grandma is 20 minutes away if I need anything. This is an incredible opportunity. You should not pass it up because you are worried about me." My daughter, wise beyond her years. Let me think about it for a few days. Over the next week, life continued to shift in unexpected ways. The social media frenzy around Sienna's post began to die down, but the damage to her reputation remained. People who had once envied her seemingly perfect life now questioned everything she presented online. Her carefully curated image had cracked, and no amount of damage control could fully repair it. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she and Trevor were arguing frequently. Money problems apparently. Credit card bills that Trevor did not know about. Purchases that could not be explained. The same pattern she had followed in her previous marriage was repeating itself. I felt no satisfaction from their struggles. If anything, I felt sad for Trevor. He had thrown away a decade of marriage for someone who was not who she pretended to be. But that was his lesson to learn, not mine to teach. My focus stayed on my own life. I accepted the job offer from Dr. Price after talking it through with Imani several more times. My first consultation assignment would be in a small hospital 3 hours north, helping them develop a pediatric emergency response protocol. I also joined a professional organization for healthcare consultants. The first meeting was held at a hotel conference center downtown on a Tuesday evening. About 40 people attended, most of them doctors or nurses who had transitioned into consulting roles. That was where I met Andre. He was sitting alone at a table in the back, reviewing some papers when I walked in. Tall, with brown skin a shade darker than mine, close-cropped hair, and an easy smile. When I asked if the seat next to him was taken, he looked up and shook his head. "Please sit. I am Andre Thompson. I am new to this group. Naomi Wells. Also new." We talked before the meeting started. He was a contractor who had built a successful business focusing on commercial construction but was looking to expand into consulting for sustainable building practices. He had a calm presence, a way of listening that made you feel heard. The meeting itself was informative, covering everything from liability insurance to marketing strategies for consultants. But I found myself more interested in the occasional comments Andre made beside me, his insights into running a business while maintaining integrity. After the meeting, a group went to a nearby coffee shop to continue networking. Andre and I ended up at the same table along with a pediatric surgeon and a project manager. The conversation flowed easily, covering everything from healthcare policy to construction challenges to the best restaurants in the city. When the group finally broke up around 10 p.m., Andre walked with me to the parking lot. "This was nice," he said. "It's good to meet people who understand the challenges of consulting work." "It is. I found my keys in my purse. Maybe I will see you at the next meeting?" "I hope so." It was not flirtation, just genuine friendliness. But as I drove home that night, I realized I had enjoyed talking with him. Not because he was attractive, though he was. Not because I was looking for romance, because I was not. But because it felt good to connect with someone new, someone who knew nothing about my past and had no expectations about my future. Imani was already in bed when I got home. I checked on her, then got ready for bed myself. My phone buzzed with a text from Rochelle. "Heard through the grapevine that Trevor's business is struggling. Sienna apparently spent their savings on designer clothes and furniture for the house. He is trying to secure a new loan but his credit is maxed out. Karma is real." I read the message twice, then turned off my phone without responding. Trevor's financial problems were between him and Sienna. I had my own life to build, my own future to secure. That weekend, Imani and I drove to my mother's house for Sunday dinner. Mom lived in a small ranch-style home in the suburbs, the same house where I grew up. She was in her early 60s now, retired from teaching elementary school, spending her days gardening and volunteering at the local library. She greeted us at the door with hugs and the smell of her famous pot roast filling the house. "My beautiful girls," she said, holding us both. Come in, come in. Dinner is almost ready." We sat around her dining table, the same one where I had eaten countless meals as a child. Mom asked about Imani's school, about my work, about our lives. She did not mention Trevor or the divorce or the social media drama unless we brought it up first. She respected my boundaries in that way. Over dessert, apple pie with vanilla ice cream, Mom looked at me seriously. "You know I am proud of you, right? The way you have handled everything. The way you have rebuilt your life and stayed strong for Imani. You have shown her what real strength looks like." Tears pricked my eyes. "Thank you, Mom. And I am proud of you too," she said to Imani. "The way you supported your mother, the way you have stayed focused on your own goals. You are going to do amazing things with your life." Imani ducked her head, embarrassed but pleased. We stayed at Mom's house until evening, helping her with some yard work and just enjoying each other's company. When we finally drove home, Imani fell asleep in the passenger seat and I had time to think. My life was good. Not perfect, but good. I had a daughter who made me proud every day. I had a career that fulfilled me and was about to expand in exciting ways. I had a mother who supported me unconditionally and a best friend who always had my back. What I did not have was a husband who lied to me. I did not have a marriage built on betrayal. I did not have the stress of wondering when the next affair would happen or the next lie would be told. Sienna could have Trevor and all the complications that came with him. I had peace, and that was worth more than any perfect-looking social media post. The week after that, I traveled for my first consultation assignment. The small hospital in the northern part of the state was struggling with pediatric emergency protocols because they did not have a dedicated pediatric unit. Their ER staff treated children alongside adults, and they needed guidance on best practices. I spent 3 days there, observing their processes, interviewing staff, and reviewing their cases. By the end of my visit, I had developed a comprehensive training program and a set of protocols they could implement immediately. The hospital administrator shook my hand gratefully when I left. You have no idea how much this means to us. We have been worried about our ability to properly treat pediatric emergencies. This gives us the tools we need. Driving home, I felt a sense of purpose that went beyond anything I had experienced in my marriage. This was my contribution to the world, using my skills and knowledge to help children receive better care. This was what mattered. When I got home, Imani had dinner waiting. She had learned to make stir-fry and it was actually pretty good. We ate together while she told me about her week. She had aced her chemistry test. She had been asked to tutor a freshman who was struggling in algebra. She was thinking about applying for a summer internship at a local science museum. My daughter was thriving and so was I. That was the real victory. Not some social media comment or public embarrassment of my ex-husband's new wife. Just the quiet, steady building of a life that mattered. 3 months after the Facebook incident, I barely thought about Trevor or Sienna anymore. My consulting work had expanded beyond my initial expectations, with 5 different rural hospitals requesting my services. Dr. Price was thrilled with the results, and the hospital board had approved funding for 2 additional consultants to work under my direction. I was building something real, something that mattered. The professional organization meetings became a regular part of my schedule. Every second Tuesday, I drove downtown to the hotel conference center and spent 2 hours networking with other consultants, learning from their experiences and sharing my own insights. Andre attended every meeting. We always seemed to end up at the same table, and our conversations had expanded beyond business into books, movies, current events, and life philosophies. He was easy to talk to, thoughtful in his responses, and genuinely interested in my work. How does it feel to know you are improving healthcare for children across the entire state? He asked one evening as we walked to our cars after a meeting. It feels like I am finally doing what I was meant to do, I answered honestly. Like all the hard parts of the past few years led me to this moment. That's a beautiful way to look at it. He paused beside his truck. Would you want to grab coffee sometime? Not at a group event. Just to talk. I hesitated. Not because I was not interested but because I was not sure I was ready. Dating had not been on my radar since the divorce. I had been focused entirely on rebuilding my life and providing stability for Imani. But Andre was not asking for anything heavy. Just coffee. Just conversation. Okay, I said. Coffee sounds nice. We met that Saturday at a small cafe near the university campus. The place was busy with students studying and locals meeting friends, but we found a quiet corner table. Andre ordered a black coffee. I got a latte. So tell me about your daughter, he said. You mention her sometimes, but I realize I do not know much about her. I told him about Imani. About how smart she was, how determined, how she had handled the divorce with more maturity than most adults would have. About her plans to study biomedical engineering in college. About the relationship we had built over 16 years. She sounds incredible, Andre said. You have done an amazing job raising her. Thank you. What about you? Do you have children? He shook his head. I was married for 5 years but we did not have kids. She wanted to wait until her career was established, and then she realized she did not want them at all. That was one of the things that ended our marriage. I wanted a family. She did not. Neither of us was wrong. We just wanted different things. How long have you been divorced? For years now. We are still friendly, which I think confused some people. But the divorce was not bitter. Just honest. He sipped his coffee. I have dated since then but nothing serious. I have been focused on building my business and figuring out who I am outside of being someone's husband. I understood that completely. The work of rediscovering yourself after a marriage ends, the process of becoming whole as an individual rather than half of a partnership. We talked for 2 hours until the cafe started preparing to close. Andre walked me to my car again. I enjoyed this, I said. Thank you for asking. Can we do it again? I smiled. Yes, we can. Over the next several weeks, coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into walks in the park on Sunday afternoons. Walks turned into museum visits and bookstore browsing and conversations that lasted until late at night. It was not a whirlwind romance. It was something slower, steadier, more grounded. Andre respected my boundaries, understood that I had a daughter who came first, and never pushed for more than I was ready to give. Imani noticed, of course. She was too perceptive not to. So you are dating the contractor guy? She asked one evening while we made dinner together. His name is Andre and yes, we are spending time together. Is that okay with you? She chopped vegetables thoughtfully. Do you like him? I do. He is kind and interesting and respectful. But you are my priority, Imani. If you are uncomfortable with this, we can talk about it. Mom, I am not uncomfortable. I just want you to be happy. And you seem happy lately. Like actually happy, not just okay. She looked at me seriously. Trevor made you smaller. This Andre guy seems to make you more yourself. That's the difference. My daughter, 17 years old and wiser than people twice her age. When did you get so smart? I learned from the best. Around the same time, my consulting business began to take on a life of its own. Other hospitals heard about my work and reached out directly. I started receiving invitations to speak at medical conferences about pediatric emergency protocols. A professional journal asked me to write an article about implementing sustainable healthcare practices in rural settings. I hired an accountant to help me manage the business side of things. I registered as an official LLC. I opened a separate business bank account. What had started as a part-time consulting position was becoming a full-fledged career. One afternoon, while reviewing contracts in my home office, I received an email from an unexpected source. It was from a woman named Jennifer, someone I did not recognize. The subject line read, "Information you should know about Trevor and Sienna." I almost deleted it without reading. The last thing I wanted was more drama from that situation. But something made me open it. The email was long and detailed. Jennifer explained that she was Sienna's former best friend, someone who had known her for over a decade. She had watched the Facebook incident unfold and felt compelled to reach out to me directly. According to Jennifer, Sienna had a pattern. She targeted successful men, presented herself as the perfect partner, then slowly drained their finances through excessive spending and hidden purchases. Her first husband had divorced her when he discovered she had accumulated over $80,000 in credit card debt without his knowledge. Her second boyfriend, before Trevor, had ended their relationship when he caught her opening credit cards in his name. Trevor is her third victim, Jennifer wrote. She saw that he owned a successful construction business and thought she had finally found someone with enough money to support her lifestyle. But construction businesses are not as profitable as they look from the outside. She is bleeding him dry, and he either does not see it or does not want to admit it. Jennifer explained that my three-word comment had been devastating to Sienna because it touched on her greatest secret. The one thing she tried desperately to hide from everyone who knew her. She is terrified of people discovering the truth about her finances, the email continued. Your comment made people start asking questions. Her ex-husband confirmed the stories. Others came forward with their experiences. She has been trying to do damage control ever since, but the truth is out now. The email ended with an apology. Jennifer said she should have spoken up sooner, should have warned Trevor before he married Sienna, but she had not wanted to cause drama. Now she regretted her silence. I read the email 3 times, then saved it to a folder and closed my laptop. This information did not change anything for me. I was not going to reach out to Trevor, was not going to warn him or try to help him. He had made his choice when he had the affair. He had to live with the consequences. But it did provide context. It explained why Sienna had been so focused on proving she was better than me, why she had needed that Facebook post to be public and pointed. She was trying to convince herself as much as anyone else that she had won something valuable. What she had actually won was a husband who had already proven he was willing to betray his commitments, and a lifestyle she could not afford. That evening, Andre came over for dinner. It was his first time meeting Imani officially, though they had crossed paths briefly once when he picked me up for a date. I was nervous about it, but Imani put us both at ease immediately. She had made lasagna, one of her favorite dishes to cook, and she grilled Andre with questions about his business, his interests, his opinions on various topics. He answered everything. Honestly, and engaged with her like she was an adult worth listening to, not just a kid he needed to impress. After dinner, Imani excused herself to do homework, leaving Andre and me alone in the living room. Your daughter is impressive, he said. Smart, confident, aware. You have done an incredible job with her. She makes it easy. She has always been a good kid. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Andre spoke again. Naomi, I want you to know that I see what you have built here. The life you have created for yourself and Imani. I respect it and I have no intention of disrupting it. Whatever this is between us, it moves at your pace. Always. I reached for his hand. Thank you for understanding that. I have been through a divorce. I know how hard it is to trust again, to open yourself up to the possibility of being hurt. I'm not asking you to rush into anything. I just wanted you to know that I am here, and I am not going anywhere unless you ask me to. It was exactly what I needed to hear. No pressure, no expectations, just honesty and respect. Over the next month, my life continued to expand in positive ways. I spoke at my first medical conference, presenting research on pediatric emergency response protocols. The presentation was well received, and several hospital administrators approached me afterward about potential consulting work. I bought a townhouse in a better neighborhood, one with excellent schools and safe streets. Imani and I spent weekends painting walls and choosing furniture, making the space truly ours. She picked out bright blue paint for her bedroom and hung posters of scientists she admired. I chose soft green for my room and finally invested in the comfortable bed I had always wanted. We hosted a housewarming party, inviting Rochelle, my mother, a few colleagues from the hospital, and Andre. It was small and casual, just people I cared about gathering in the home I had built through my own hard work. During the party, Rochelle pulled me aside in the kitchen. "You look happy," she said. "Actually happy, not just pretending." "I'm happy. For the first time in years, I feel like my life is completely my own." "And the contractor?" She glanced toward the living room where Andre was talking with my mother. "Is it serious?" "It is real, and healthy, and respectful. And that is enough for now." Rochelle hugged me. "You deserve this. All of it. The career, the house, the good man who treats you right. Do not ever forget that." I had not heard from Trevor directly in months. No phone calls, no attempts to reach out through mutual friends, no drama. I assumed he was dealing with whatever situation Sienna had created and had no time or energy to think about his ex-wife. That assumption would turn out to be partially correct. 6 months after the Facebook comment, on a Tuesday morning, I received a phone call from a number I did not recognize. I almost did not answer, but something told me to pick up. "Naomi, it's Trevor." I had not heard his voice in so long that it took me a moment to place it. When I did, my first instinct was to hang up. But curiosity kept me on the line. "What do you want, Trevor?" "I need to talk to you. About Sienna. About everything." His voice sounded strained, exhausted. "Can we meet somewhere? Just for coffee. 30 minutes. Please." Every instinct told me to say no. I had moved on from this man, had built a life that had nothing to do with him. Meeting him would only drag me back into drama I had escaped. "I do not think that is a good idea." "Please, Naomi. I know I have no right to ask. But I need to talk to someone who understands, and you are the only person who might listen." "What about your mother? Your sister? Your friends?" "They all told me I was making a mistake when I left you for Sienna. None of them want to hear about my problems now." He paused. "You were always good at seeing things clearly. I need that right now." I should have hung up. Should have told him to figure out his own life. But something in his voice made me pause. Not sympathy exactly, but recognition. He was drowning and he knew it. "One coffee. 30 minutes. And then I do not want to hear from you again." We agreed to meet at a cafe across town, one I had never been to, neutral territory. I told Rochelle where I was going and asked her to call me after 45 minutes if she had not heard from me. "Why are you meeting him at all?" she asked. "Because he sounds desperate. And I want to make sure whatever mess he is in stays far away from me and Imani." Trevor was already there when I arrived. He looked terrible. The successful businessman I had married was gone, replaced by someone who looked 10 years older. His clothes were wrinkled. His hair needed cutting. His eyes had dark circles beneath them. He stood when he saw me. "Naomi, thank you for coming." I sat down across from him without offering a hug or any warmth. "You have 30 minutes. He ordered a coffee he did not drink and launched into his story. Sienna had been hiding debt from him since before they got married. Small things at first, purchases she said were for the house or for him. Then bigger things. Designer clothes, expensive furniture, luxury vacations she put on credit cards he did not know about. "She opened accounts in my name," he said, his voice breaking. "Used my credit to buy things we could not afford. By the time I found out, we were almost $200,000 in debt. My business accounts were drained. She had access to everything and she spent it all." I listened without interruption. This was not my problem to solve, but I needed to understand the scope of it. "When your comment went viral, people started asking questions. Her ex-husband reached out to me directly and told me what she had done to him. I confronted her and she admitted everything. Said she had a shopping addiction, said she would get help, said she would fix it." Trevor rubbed his face. "But she did not fix it. She just got better at hiding it. I found out last month that she maxed out 3 more credit cards I did not know existed. Cards she opened using my social security number and forged signatures." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I need help. My business is failing. I cannot get loans because my credit is destroyed. I am losing contracts because I cannot pay my suppliers. Everything I built is falling apart. I felt no satisfaction from his pain. No sense of justice or karma. Just tired sadness that he had thrown away so much for someone who turned out to be exactly what she appeared to be, once you looked past the surface. What do you want from me, Trevor? I do not know. Advice maybe. You always knew how to handle things. How to make plans and stick to them. I am drowning here and I do not know what to do. I looked at the man I had once loved, the man who had betrayed me, the man who was now reaping what he had sown. Part of me wanted to walk away and leave him to deal with his own mess. But another part, the part that had once cared for him, could not watch him drown without at least pointing toward the shore. Get a lawyer, I said. A good one. Document everything Sienna has done. File a police report for identity theft if she really did forge your signature. Separate your finances completely. File for divorce if you have not already. I cannot afford a lawyer. I cannot afford anything right now. Then represent yourself. The court has resources for people who cannot afford representation. But Trevor, you need to understand something. This is not my problem to solve. You made choices that led you here. You need to make different choices to get yourself out. His eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, Naomi. For everything. For the affair, for the lies, for not appreciating what I had with you. You deserved better than what I gave you. Yes, I did. I stood up. I hope you figure this out, Trevor. But I cannot help you. I have my own life now, and it does not include cleaning up your messes. I walked out of the cafe and drove home with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Not from anger or hurt, but from the confirmation that I had made the right choice 2 years ago. Trevor had not been the right partner for me then, and he certainly was not now. When I got home, Imani was in the kitchen making dinner. She took one look at my face and asked, "What happened?" I told her about the meeting with Trevor, about Sienna's debts, about his failing business. Imani listened with a thoughtful expression. "Do you feel bad for him?" she asked. "A little. But mostly I feel grateful that his problems are not my problems anymore." Good. Because he made his own choices. He does not get to come back to you now that things are hard. Imani stirred the pot on the stove. You have built something good without him. Do not let him pull you back into his mess. Once again, my daughter was wiser than she should have been. That evening, Andre came over. I told him about the meeting with Trevor, and he listened without judgment. "How do you feel about it?" he asked. Relieved. Sad for him, but relieved that I am not part of it anymore. Does that make me a bad person? It makes you a person with healthy boundaries. Andre took my hand. You offered him advice. You pointed him toward resources. That is more than many ex-wives would do. But you are right not to let yourself get dragged back into his life. We talked for hours that night about relationships and choices and consequences. About how people could surprise you in both good and bad ways. About the importance of choosing partners who added to your life rather than draining from it. Over the next few weeks, I heard through various channels that Trevor and Sienna had separated. She had moved back to her hometown. He was trying to salvage his business but struggling. His mother called me once to thank me for talking to him, to tell me he was getting help, to apologize again for not believing me when the marriage ended. I accepted her apology gracefully but made it clear I was not interested in ongoing updates about Trevor's life. My focus remained on my own path. My consulting business continued to grow. I hired an assistant to help manage scheduling and client communications. I expanded my services to include training programs for hospital staff, not just consultation on protocols. Imani received early acceptance to her top choice college, a prestigious university with an excellent biomedical engineering program. The scholarship they offered would cover most of her tuition. Between that and the college fund I had been building, she would graduate debt-free. "Mom, this is incredible," she said when the acceptance letter arrived. I got in. I actually got in. We celebrated with her favorite dinner and invited my mother and Rochelle to join us. Andre brought flowers and a card congratulating Imani on her achievement. It was a perfect evening, surrounded by people who had supported us through everything. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and Imani was asleep, I sat on my balcony and thought about how far we had come. From the night I discovered Trevor's affair to this moment, accepting that my daughter would soon leave for college. From the pain of divorce to the peace of a life well lived. Trevor's problems were his own. Sienna's problems were hers. I had my own life, my own success, my own happiness. And that was exactly how it should be. The call came from a journalist named Rachel Martinez. She introduced herself as a freelance writer working on a feature for Business and Health magazine. a regional publication that focused on successful entrepreneurs and healthcare innovations. I am doing a story on women who have built successful consulting businesses in the healthcare field, she explained. Your name came up repeatedly in my research. Multiple hospital administrators mentioned your work in pediatric emergency protocols. Would you be interested in being interviewed? I agreed, curious but cautious. A week later, Rachel came to my office, a small space I had rented in a professional building downtown. She was in her 30s, sharp-eyed and prepared with detailed questions about my career path, my approach to consulting, and the challenges I had faced building a business from scratch. The interview lasted 2 hours. We discussed my work, my philosophy on healthcare accessibility, and my vision for expanding pediatric care in underserved areas. Toward the end, Rachel asked about my personal life. You are divorced, correct? Yes. Can you talk about how that experience shaped your career trajectory? Many of the women I interview mentioned that major life changes often catalyze professional growth. I considered how much to share. The journalist seemed genuine, and this was a legitimate question for the story. I decided on honesty without unnecessary detail. My divorce forced me to reevaluate everything. Who I was, what I wanted, what kind of legacy I wanted to leave. It was painful, but it also freed me to pursue opportunities one might have passed on otherwise. I built this business because I finally had the space and support to focus on what mattered to me. Rachel nodded, taking notes. And your daughter? How has she handled your career growth? She has been my biggest supporter. Seeing her mother build something meaningful, overcome challenges, and create the life she wanted has been a valuable lesson for her. We have grown together through this process. The article came out 6 weeks later. It was a full feature with a professional photo of me in my office, surrounded by the certificates and awards I had earned over the years. The headline read, Healing Beyond the Hospital, How Naomi Wells is Revolutionizing Rural Pediatric Care. The article detailed my career, my consulting approach, and the impact my work had on children's healthcare across the state. It mentioned the divorce in one paragraph, framing it as a turning point that allowed me to pursue my true calling. It highlighted Imani's college acceptance and my commitment to being present for my daughter while building a successful business. The response was immediate. My phone rang constantly with interview requests, speaking invitations, and consulting opportunities. The article had positioned me as an expert in my field, someone who had overcome personal challenges to make a real difference in healthcare. 3 days after the article published, I received a message from Patricia, Trevor's mother. Naomi, I read the article about you in Business and Health magazine. I'm so proud of what you have accomplished. Trevor saw it too. I wanted you to know that. I did not respond immediately. What could I say? Thank you for telling me my ex-husband knows I have succeeded without him? The whole situation felt awkward. But then more messages came. From Trevor's sister. From old friends who had lost touch after the divorce. From colleagues at the hospital where I used to work full-time. All of them congratulating me, expressing pride, acknowledging what I had built. The most surprising message came from Trevor himself. A simple text that appeared on my phone late one evening. I read the article. You deserve all of this success. I'm sorry for ever making you feel like your career did not matter. You were always meant to do great things. I stared at the message for a long time before responding with 2 words, thank you. That was all he needed to hear. All I needed to say. Acknowledgement without reconciliation. Recognition without reconnection. Around the same time, my relationship with Andre continued to deepen. We had been dating for nearly 8 months, taking things slowly, building trust. He had met my mother several times and had become a regular presence at our family dinners. Imani liked him, which mattered more to me than anything else. One Saturday afternoon, Andre and I drove to a state park an hour outside the city. We hiked for 3 hours talking about everything and nothing. When we reached a scenic overlook, we sat on a bench and watched the valley below. Can I ask you something serious? Andre said. My heart started beating faster. Of course. Where do you see this going? I know we have been taking it slow and I respect that. But I need to know if you see a future here or if this is just something comfortable for now. I appreciated his honesty. I see a future. Not because I need someone to complete me or because I am afraid of being alone. I am perfectly fine on my own. But because you add something to my life. You make it richer, fuller, more joyful. And I think I do the same for you. You do. He took my hand. I am not asking you to marry me or move in together or make any huge decisions. I just wanted to know that we are moving in the same direction. We are. We sat in comfortable silence, watching birds circle over the valley, and I felt a peace I had not known was possible. This was what healthy love looked like. Communication, respect, mutual support. No games, no manipulation, no betrayal lurking around the corner. The week after that, I spoke at a medical conference in the state capital. My presentation on implementing sustainable pediatric emergency protocols was scheduled for the second day. The room was packed with hospital administrators, doctors, and nurses from across the region. I had prepared thoroughly, creating a slide presentation with clear data and actionable recommendations. As I spoke, I could see people taking notes, nodding in agreement, asking thoughtful questions during the Q&A session. After the presentation, at least 20 people approached me with business cards and consultation requests. Hospital administrators wanted to hire me. Medical schools wanted me to guest lecture. Professional organizations wanted me to serve on committees. My business was no longer just successful. It was becoming influential. That evening at the conference dinner, I sat with a group of healthcare consultants discussing industry trends. One woman, Dr. Stephanie Chin, asked me about my background. You were a full-time nurse before consulting, right? What made you make the switch? Personal circumstances created an opportunity, and I was ready to take it. Sometimes life pushes you in directions you were meant to go all along. Well, you have made quite an impact in a short time. The work you are doing with rural hospitals is changing lives. It was surreal to hear someone describe my work in those terms. Changing lives. That had been my goal when I became a nurse, but I had not realized how much further that impact could extend through consulting and training. The next morning, before I left the conference, a hospital CEO approached me. Her facility was 3 hours away, a medium-sized regional hospital struggling with pediatric care coordination. I want to hire you full-time as our Director of Pediatric Services, she said. We need someone with your expertise to completely overhaul our department. The salary would be substantial, and we would provide relocation assistance. It was a flattering offer, but I did not even have to think about my answer. Thank you, but I am happy with my consulting business. I have the flexibility to impact multiple hospitals rather than being tied to one facility. And I have a daughter who is about to start college. I need to be available for her. The CEO nodded understandingly. If you ever change your mind, the offer stands. Driving home from the conference, I called Rochelle and told her about the job offer. You turned down a director position? She said, incredulous. That is huge. It is. But it would mean giving up the business I have built and potentially moving away from Imani and my mother. The money would be good, but the life would not be what I want. Look at you, knowing exactly what you want and not compromising. I am proud of you. When I got home, Imani was studying for finals. She looked up from her textbooks when I walked in. How was the conference? Good. Really good actually. I got a job offer. Her eyes widened. Are you taking it? No. I like my life exactly how it is. She smiled. Good. Because I like it too. That night, I received an email from Jennifer, the woman who had written to me months earlier about Sienna's history. The subject line read, "Update you might find interesting." The email explained that Sienna had moved back to her hometown and was already involved with a new man. Someone wealthy, according to her social media posts. The pattern was repeating itself. I wanted you to know because she has been telling people that you ruined her marriage, Jennifer wrote. She has created a whole narrative where you somehow sabotaged her relationship with Trevor out of jealousy. It is ridiculous, but she has convinced some people who do not know the full story. I read the email twice then deleted it. Sienna could tell whatever story she needed to tell to make herself feel better. The people who mattered knew the truth. My reputation was intact. My life was thriving. Nothing she said could change those facts. I would not engage with her lies. I would not defend myself to people who were willing to believe her version without question. I would simply continue living well, which was the best response to anyone who tried to tear me down. The next several weeks were busy with consulting work, speaking engagements, and spending time with Imani as her high school graduation approached. Andre helped us prepare for her graduation party, setting up tables in my mother's backyard and hanging decorations. The party was beautiful. Imani wore a bright green dress that made her glow. Friends, family, teachers, and neighbors came to celebrate her achievement. She gave a short speech thanking everyone who had supported her, especially her mother and grandmother. My mom taught me that setbacks are not permanent, she said, that you can rebuild after loss. That strength is not about never falling down but about getting back up with dignity. I am who I am because of the example she set. I cried during her speech, overwhelmed by pride and love. This was the legacy that mattered. Not business success or professional recognition, but raising a daughter who understood resilience and integrity. After the party, after everyone had gone home, Andre and I sat on my mother's porch swing. "You have an amazing family," he said. "I do. And you are part of it now if you want to be." He kissed me gently. "I definitely want to be." My life had come together in ways I never expected. Not because I had planned it perfectly, but because I had made choices that honored who I was and what I valued. I had walked away from a marriage that diminished me. I had built a career that mattered. I had raised a daughter who would change the world. I had found love again with someone who respected me completely. Trevor and Sienna's drama continued somewhere in the background, but it no longer touched me. Their choices were theirs. Mine were mine. And I had chosen well. Summer passed quickly. Imani worked part-time at the hospital as a volunteer, gaining experience that would help with her future career. I continued my consulting work, traveling to different hospitals and developing new training programs. Andre and I spent weekends exploring the state, taking day trips to small towns and hiking trails. Everything felt stable, peaceful, right? Then Rochelle called me on a Tuesday afternoon with news I did not expect. "Naomi, something weird is happening. Someone sent me a friend request on Facebook from an account that looks fake. The profile picture is of a random woman, but all the posts are about healthcare consulting and pediatric care. The account just started following you too." I checked my phone and found the friend request. The profile was exactly as Rochelle described. Generic stock photo, posts about topics related to my work, mutual friends who were all in healthcare. It looked legitimate at first glance, but something felt off. "Block it," I told Rochelle. "It is probably spam or someone trying to gather information for marketing." That is what I thought at first. But then I looked at the comments on your posts. "This account has been commenting on everything you share, asking detailed questions about your work and your personal life. It feels targeted." I scrolled through my recent posts. Sure enough, the account had commented multiple times, always friendly, always curious, always asking questions that seemed just slightly too personal. "Block the account and let me know if you see any others like it," I said. Over the next few days, 3 more similar accounts appeared. All with generic photos, all posting about healthcare, all trying to connect with me and my friends. Each time I blocked them and moved on. Then Rochelle did some investigating. She was good at internet research, a skill she had developed in her paralegal work. What she found was concerning. All 4 accounts were created within the same 2-week period, she told me over coffee that Saturday. They all follow the same people, mostly your professional contacts and friends. And when I did a reverse image search on the profile pictures, they are all stock photos from the same website. "You think someone is deliberately creating fake accounts to monitor me?" "I think someone is trying to gather information about you. What you are doing, who you are spending time with, what your schedule looks like. The question is why?" The answer came 2 weeks later when a woman I did not recognize tried to befriend Imani through Instagram. The profile looked legitimate, a young woman in her early 20s who claimed to be interested in biomedical engineering. She sent Imani a message asking about her college plans. Imani showed me the message. "This is weird, right? I do not know this person, and she is asking really specific questions about when I am leaving for college and where you will be living after I leave." I looked at the profile. Something about it felt familiar, but I could not place what. Then I noticed the location tag on one of the photos, Sienna's hometown. "Block this account," I told Imani. "Do not respond to any messages. And let me know if anyone else you do not know tries to contact you." I called Rochelle and explained what had happened. "It is Sienna," Rochelle said immediately. "She is creating fake accounts to gather information about you. She wants to know what you are doing, where you are going, who you are seeing. This is stalking behavior, Naomi. Why would she care? She has a new boyfriend. She has moved on." "Has she though? Or is she still obsessed with the fact that you are successful and she is not? That your life is thriving while hers fell apart? Some people cannot handle that." I reported the accounts to the social media platforms and increased my privacy settings. But the attempts continued. Different accounts, slightly different approaches, but always the same goal: getting information about my life. Then it escalated. I arrived at work one morning to find my assistant looking worried. "Someone called 3 times this morning asking about your schedule," she said. "They claimed to be from a hospital wanting to book you for a consultation, but when I asked which hospital, they hung up. Then they called back with a different name and a different story." "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. I said you would call them back if they left contact information. They refused and hung up again. I contacted hospital security and explained the situation. They agreed to alert reception about potential suspicious calls and to notify me if anyone unusual tried to access my office. That evening, I told Andre what was happening. "This is harassment," he said seriously. "You need to document everything and consider filing a police report." "For what? Fake social media accounts and suspicious phone calls?" "The police will not do anything about that." "Then hire a private investigator. Find out for sure if it is Sienna and get evidence. If she is stalking you, there are legal options." I did not want to spend money or energy on Sienna's apparent obsession with me. But Andre was right that the behavior was escalating. Better to know for sure what I was dealing with. I hired a private investigator recommended by Rochelle's law firm. Within a week, she confirmed that all the fake accounts were created from IP addresses linked to Sienna's location. The phone calls to my office came from burner phones, but the investigator traced the purchases of those phones to stores near Sienna's hometown. "She is definitely monitoring you," the investigator said. "She has not made any direct threats, but the pattern of behavior suggests obsession. You should consider getting a restraining order." I consulted with a lawyer about my options. The evidence was strong enough for a no-contact order, though not quite enough for a full restraining order. I filed the paperwork, and within 2 weeks, Sienna was served with legal documents prohibiting her from contacting me, my daughter, or anyone in my household directly or indirectly. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 days after Sienna was served with the no-contact order, she showed up at my workplace. She made it past reception by claiming to be a pharmaceutical representative. By the time security was alerted, she was in the hallway outside my office, demanding to speak with me. I was in a meeting with Dr. Price when my assistant knocked on the door. "I am sorry to interrupt, but there is a situation. Security is handling it, but I thought you should know." By the time I reached the hallway, security already had Sienna by the arm, escorting her toward the exit. She saw me and started yelling. "You think you are better than me? You think you won something? You are just a bitter ex-wife who could not keep her husband happy." I stood calmly, not engaging, letting security do their job. Dr. Price stood beside me, her presence a quiet show of support. Sienna continued yelling as they led her away. "You ruined my life with that comment. Everything fell apart because of you. You are vindictive and jealous and pathetic." The elevator doors closed on her still yelling. The hallway fell silent. Dr. Price turned to me. "Are you okay?" "I am fine. Just shocked that she would come here. We will file a formal trespass notice with the police. She will not be allowed on hospital property again. And I want you to take the rest of the day off, go home, make sure you are safe." I appreciated her concern, but I did not want to give Sienna the power to disrupt my work. "I am okay to finish my day. But I will file a police report." That afternoon, I went to the police station with my lawyer and filed a report about the trespassing incident. The officer took my statement and the evidence from the private investigator about the fake accounts and suspicious calls. He agreed that Sienna's behavior was concerning. "The no-contact order should have been enough to stop this," he said. "Now that she has violated it by showing up at your workplace, we can pursue charges. The district attorney will review the case and decide if they want to file criminal harassment charges." I left the police station feeling exhausted. All I wanted was to live my life in peace. Why was that so difficult for Sienna to accept? When I got home, Imani was waiting with Andre. Rochelle had called them both after hearing about the incident at the hospital. "Are you okay?" Imani asked immediately, hugging me. "I am fine. Shaken up, but fine." Andre pulled me close. "This needs to stop. She is becoming dangerous. The police are handling it now. There is nothing more I can do except continue living my life and let the legal system work." Over the next week, the district attorney decided to file criminal harassment charges against Sienna. She was arrested, spent a night in jail, and was released on bail with strict conditions including no contact with me or anyone associated with me. I hoped that would finally end her obsession. But part of me knew that people like Sienna, people who could not accept responsibility for their own failures, would always find someone else to blame. My focus remained on my own life. I could not control Sienna's behavior, but I could control how I responded to it. I refused to live in fear or to let her actions limit my choices. I continued my consulting work, my speaking engagements, my relationship with Andre, my time with Imani. Life went on despite Sienna's attempts to disrupt it. The criminal harassment charges against Sienna moved slowly through the legal system. My lawyer kept me updated on court dates and hearings, but I did not attend any of them. I gave my statement to the district attorney and let the process unfold without my direct involvement. Meanwhile, life continued. Imani's college move-in date approached quickly, and we spent weekends shopping for dorm supplies and planning for her transition to university life. It was bittersweet watching my daughter prepare to leave home, but I was proud of the young woman she had become. Andre helped us pack Imani's car the night before her move. We filled the trunk and back seat with boxes of clothes, bedding, school supplies, and personal items. Imani was nervous and excited, ready for this next chapter but sad to leave home. "You are going to do amazing things," I told her, hugging her tight. "And I am only a phone call away if you need anything." "I know, Mom. Thank you for everything. For being strong when things were hard. For showing me what it looks like to rebuild. For never giving up." The next morning we drove 3 hours to her university. The campus was beautiful, full of old brick buildings and tree-lined paths. Students and parents filled the parking lots, everyone moving boxes and furniture into dorms. We spent the day getting Imani settled. Making her bed, organizing her closet, meeting her roommate and the other students on her floor. By evening she was as ready as she could be. "I should let you get settled in," I said, fighting tears. "Call me tonight so I know you are okay." "I will, Mom. I love you. I love you too. More than you will ever know." The drive home was quiet. Andre held my hand while I drove, understanding that I needed time to process this transition. My daughter was starting her own life, and I was entering a new phase where I had more freedom but also more uncertainty about my role in her daily existence. When we got back to my house, Andre made dinner while I unpacked my overnight bag. "How are you feeling?" he asked over pasta. "Proud," said. "Excited for her. Worried about her. All of it at once. That sounds like being a parent." We talked late into the night about what this change meant. Imani would come home for holidays and summers, but day-to-day life would be different. I would have more time to focus on my business, on my relationship with Andre, on myself. It was both freeing and terrifying. The next morning, I woke to a text from my lawyer. The district attorney had reached a plea deal with Sienna. She would plead guilty to misdemeanor harassment, receive probation, mandatory counseling, and a permanent restraining order prohibiting any contact with me. "She will not be allowed to contact you, come near your home or workplace, or attempt any communication through social media or third parties," the lawyer explained when I called her. "If she violates the restraining order, she faces jail time. This should be the end of it." I felt relieved but cautious. Sienna had already violated the no-contact order once. What would stop her from violating a restraining order? "The counseling is mandatory," my lawyer continued. "A therapist will have to sign off that she has completed treatment before she can even have the restraining order reviewed." The judge took this very seriously given her pattern of behavior. That was something at least. Maybe professional help would give Sienna the tools to move on with her own life instead of obsessing over mine. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from Trevor. It came to my office, forwarded through my lawyer, so Trevor did not have my direct address. The envelope sat on my desk for a full day before I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter, 3 pages long. "Dear Naomi," it began. "I am writing this letter knowing you may not read it, and that is okay. I need to say these things whether or not you ever respond. First, I want to apologize for everything that happened with Sienna. I know her behavior toward you was inexcusable. I should have seen the warning signs earlier. I should have protected you from her harassment. Instead, I was so caught up in my own problems that I did not even realize what she was doing until it was too late. Second, I want you to know that I take full responsibility for the failure of our marriage. I blamed you for a long time, told myself that you were too focused on your career, too distant emotionally. But the truth is that I was insecure about your success. You were always smarter, more dedicated, more compassionate than I was. Instead of being proud of you, I resented you for it. That resentment made me vulnerable to Sienna's attention. Third, I want you to know that I am getting help. Real help. I started therapy after my business failed and I had to declare bankruptcy. I am working through why I made the choices I did, why I hurt people who cared about me, why I could not appreciate what I had until it was gone. I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not expect you to respond to this letter. I'm not asking for anything from you. I just wanted you to know that I see clearly now what I could not see before. You were a good wife, a good person, and you deserved so much better than what I gave you. I hope you are happy, Naomi. From what I have heard through mutual friends, you have built an incredible life. You have a successful career, a wonderful daughter, and people who truly appreciate you. That is what you always deserved. I'm sorry for everything. I wish you nothing but the best. Trevor. I read the letter twice, then folded it and put it back in the envelope. There was no anger in my heart as I read his words. No satisfaction from his admission of guilt. Just quiet acceptance that this chapter of my life was truly closed. I did not respond to the letter. There was nothing left to say. Trevor had apologized and I had moved on. That was enough. That evening, Andre came over for dinner. I showed him the letter and he read it carefully. "How do you feel about this?" he asked. "Nothing really. It is nice that he takes responsibility, but it does not change anything. I have already forgiven him in the sense that I do not carry anger about what happened. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation or renewed friendship. It just means I am not weighed down by his mistakes anymore. That is healthy." Andre pulled me close. "You have done the work to heal. He is just starting his. That is his journey, not yours." We spent the evening cooking together, talking about our week, making plans for the weekend. Normal things. Comfortable things. The kind of relationship that felt safe and steady. A few days later, I received a call from Imani. She sounded happy, settling into college life well. She liked her classes, enjoyed her roommate, was making friends in her dorm. Hearing her voice full of excitement made the distance easier to bear. "How are you, Mom?" "Really? I'm good. Really good actually. Work is busy in a good way. Andre and I are doing well. Life feels peaceful. You deserve peaceful. You have earned it after everything." After we hung up, I sat on my balcony and thought about how true that was. I had earned this peace. Not through luck or circumstance, but through intentional choices. Choosing to leave a marriage that was broken. Choosing to focus on my career and my daughter. Choosing to maintain my dignity even when others tried to tear me down. Choosing to open my heart again when the right person came along. Sienna's attempts to disrupt my life had failed because I refused to engage with her chaos. Trevor's apology had come too late to matter because I had already moved beyond needing it. My success was not about revenge or proving anything to anyone. It was simply the natural result of doing good work and treating people with respect. The following month, I spoke at another medical conference, this time in a neighboring state. The room was packed, standing room only. My presentation on pediatric emergency protocols had become well known in healthcare circles, and hospitals across the region were implementing my recommendations. After my presentation, a hospital CEO approached me with a proposal. Her facility wanted to partner with my consulting business to develop a comprehensive training program for all their staff, not just pediatric units. "Your approach to patient care and staff development is exactly what we need," she said. "We want to bring you on as a long-term consultant with a significant contract. Are you interested?" The contract she offered was substantial. More money than I had made in any single year, with the potential for ongoing work that could establish my business as a major player in healthcare consulting. "Can I think about it and get back to you next week?" "Of course. But I hope you say yes. You would be doing important work that impacts thousands of patients." That night, I discussed the opportunity with Andre. The contract would require more travel, longer hours, and significant commitment. But it would also elevate my business to a new level. "What does your gut tell you?" Andre asked. "That this is what I have been working toward. That all the small consultations and speaking engagements were building to something like this. That I am ready for it." "Then you have your answer." I accepted the contract the following week. Within a month, I was working with the hospital's leadership team to develop comprehensive training programs. I hired 2 additional consultants to work with me, expanding my team and my reach. My business was no longer just about me. It was becoming something bigger, something that could continue making an impact even after I stepped back from day-to-day work. Life had a way of working out when you stayed true to your values and put in the effort. Not perfectly, not without challenges, but in ways that mattered. 1 year after the Facebook comment, almost to the day, I received an award from the State Medical Association for my contributions to pediatric healthcare. The ceremony was held in the capital city, a formal event attended by healthcare leaders from across the state. I wore a deep blue dress that Imani helped me pick out. She came home from college for the weekend to attend the ceremony with me. Andre was my date, looking handsome in a suit. My mother, Rochelle, and several colleagues from the hospital also came to support me. The award itself was a beautiful crystal trophy with my name engraved on a brass plate. But more meaningful than the physical award were the words spoken during the presentation. "Naomi Wells has transformed the way rural hospitals approach pediatric emergency care," the association president said. "Her training programs have been implemented in over 30 facilities across our state, impacting thousands of children and families. Her dedication to making high-quality healthcare accessible to all children, regardless of location or economic status, exemplifies the best of our profession." As I stood on the stage accepting the award, I looked out at the audience. My daughter beaming with pride. My mother wiping tears from her eyes. Andre giving me a thumbs up. Rochelle recording the whole thing on her phone. This was success. Not the kind that required tearing others down or proving myself superior. Just the quiet accumulation of good work, meaningful relationships, and positive impact. In my acceptance speech, I talked about the importance of access to healthcare, the dedication of rural medical staff, and the children whose lives had been saved because someone cared enough to improve training and protocols. I thanked my team, my family, and everyone who had supported my vision. I did not mention Trevor or Sienna or divorce or betrayal. Those things were part of my story, but they were not the story. The story was about resilience, purpose, and the choice to build something meaningful from difficult circumstances. After the ceremony, at the reception, I networked with hospital administrators and medical professionals. Opportunities for future collaborations emerged naturally from conversations. By the end of the evening, I had 3 new potential contracts and invitations to speak at 2 more conferences. "You are in high demand," Andre said as we drove home that night. "It feels good to be recognized for the work itself, not just the circumstances that led to it. You should feel proud. You built all of this yourself." The following week, I received a message from an unexpected source. It was from Trevor's mother, Patricia, asking if she could meet with me for coffee. I hesitated before agreeing. We had not spoken directly since before the divorce, only exchanged brief messages after the article about my business was published. We met at a cafe downtown on a Tuesday afternoon. Patricia looked older than I remembered, her hair completely gray now, lines around her eyes that spoke of worry and sleepless nights. "Thank you for meeting with me," she said after we ordered. "I know you did not have to. How are you, Patricia?" "I'm okay. Trevor is doing better. He is rebuilding his business slowly, staying away from relationships, focusing on himself. The bankruptcy was hard, but it forced him to face some truths he had been avoiding." I nodded, unsure where this conversation was going. "I wanted to apologize to you directly," Patricia continued. "Not just through a message or a letter. I believed Trevor when he blamed you for the problems in your marriage. I believed Sienna when she painted you as a cold, career-obsessed wife who did not appreciate my son. I should have known better. You were always kind to me, always included me in your lives, always treated our family with respect. I am sorry I did not do the same for you." Her words were sincere, spoken with genuine regret. I appreciated them even though they did not change the past. "Thank you for saying that. It means something. I also wanted you to know that I am proud of you. What you have accomplished, how you have raised Imani, the person you have become. Trevor threw away something precious, and I think he finally understands that now." We talked for another hour, catching up on family news, discussing Imani's college experience, even laughing about some old memories from happier times. It was not reconciliation exactly, but it was closure. A recognition that we could both move forward without bitterness. As I drove home, I thought about how much had changed in 2 years. From discovering an affair to building a thriving business. From the pain of divorce to the joy of a healthy relationship. From uncertainty about the future to confidence in my own path. The 3 words I had typed that night so long ago had not caused Sienna's downfall. They had simply revealed what was already there. The same way my success had not been about revenge against Trevor. It was simply the result of choosing to focus on what I could build rather than what I had lost. That weekend, Andre and I took a trip to a cabin in the mountains. No cell service, no work emails, just 2 days of hiking, reading, and relaxing together. On Saturday evening, we sat on the cabin's porch watching the sunset. "I have been thinking about something," Andre said. "About us and where this is going." My heart started beating faster, unsure if I was ready for whatever he was about to say. "I love you, Naomi. I have loved you for months now, but I did not want to rush anything. I know you needed time to heal, to build your own life, to be sure about what you wanted. But I want you to know how I feel. You have made my life better in every way. You have shown me what a healthy partnership looks like. And I want to keep building this life with you." Tears filled my eyes. "I love you too. You have given me space to grow while being present and supportive. You have respected my boundaries while showing me what I deserve. I could not ask for a better partner." We sat in comfortable silence, holding hands, watching the colors change in the sky. There was no proposal, no pressure for major decisions. Just honesty about our feelings and commitment to continuing together. Later that night, lying in bed listening to the sounds of the forest outside, I felt a contentment I had never experienced before. This was what love should feel like. Safe, steady, supportive. No games, no drama, no wondering if the other person was being faithful. Back home the following week, I threw myself into my consulting work. The major contract I had signed was in full implementation phase, requiring frequent meetings and site visits. My team was growing, adding a third consultant and an administrative assistant to handle scheduling and logistics. Imani came home for fall break, full of stories about her classes and her new friends. She had joined a campus research group studying biomedical devices, working alongside graduate students on real projects. "This is exactly what I wanted," she said over dinner. "The challenge, the collaboration, the feeling that I am learning things that matter. I am so proud of you." "I am proud of you too, Mom. Look at what you have built. You have impacted so many lives through your work. And you are happy. Really, genuinely happy. That is the biggest success." Andre joined us for dinner and we spent the evening playing board games and laughing together. It felt like family in the best possible way. Not forced or awkward, just natural and comfortable. Later that week, I received a notification that Sienna's restraining order hearing had been held. My lawyer called to update me. The judge denied her request to modify the restraining order. It stays in place indefinitely. The counseling reports showed that she still has not taken full responsibility for her behavior. She tried to argue that your success was somehow proof that you had not been damaged by her actions, which the judge rejected immediately. I felt relief wash over me. So this is really over? As over as it can be. She is legally prohibited from contacting you or coming near you. If she violates that, she faces serious consequences. Most likely, she will finally move on with her own life. I hope that was true. Not because I cared about Sienna's well-being particularly, but because I was tired of her presence casting any shadow over my life. That evening, I called Rochelle to share the news. "Finally," she said. "That woman has been a thorn in your side for too long. Now you can just focus on your amazing life." "My amazing life," I repeated, smiling. "I like the sound of that. You should. You earned it. Every single bit of it." The next month brought new opportunities. A publisher reached out about writing a book on pediatric emergency protocols. A television station wanted to interview me for a segment on healthcare access. A university invited me to teach a graduate seminar on consulting practices. Each opportunity was exciting, but I was careful to maintain balance. I did not want to build a career so demanding that I lost sight of what mattered: relationships, health, personal growth. I accepted the book deal with a timeline that allowed me to work on it slowly over 2 years. I agreed to the television interview but declined the teaching position because it would require too much time away from my consulting work. Life was about choices, and I was learning to choose what served me rather than what simply looked impressive. On a Sunday afternoon in late October, I hosted a dinner party at my house. My mother, Rochelle, Andre, a few colleagues from the hospital, and some friends from the professional organization attended. We cooked together, shared stories, celebrated the connections we had built. As I looked around my living room full of people I cared about, I realized this was the life I had always wanted. Not perfect, not without challenges, but authentic and meaningful. Built on truth rather than pretense, on respect rather than control, on love rather than obligation. Trevor had given me a gift when he had that affair, though he never meant to. He had freed me to discover who I could become without someone holding me back. He had pushed me toward the life I was meant to live. I did not wish him ill. I hoped he found his own path to healing and happiness. But I was grateful that our paths had diverged, allowing me to find mine. Thanksgiving arrived with crisp air and golden leaves. Imani came home from college for the week, and we spent the holiday at my mother's house with a full table of family and friends. Andre carved the turkey while my mother directed everyone in the kitchen. Rochelle entertained us with stories from her law office. It was exactly how holidays should feel. The next day, Imani and I sat in my living room drinking coffee and watching old movies. She was relaxed and happy, telling me about her plans for next semester and her excitement about a research project she would be joining. "Mom, can I ask you something?" she said during a commercial break. "Of course. That Facebook comment you made. The one that started all of this. What did it actually say? I know it was 3 words, but you have never told me what they were." I smiled, remembering that night over a year ago when I had typed those words without fully understanding their impact. I commented, "Ask your accountant." Imani's eyes widened. "That is it? That is what caused everything. That is it." Sienna had posted that long caption about how Trevor finally had a real woman, how she took care of herself unlike some people. It was meant to humiliate me publicly. But instead of defending myself or engaging with her attack, I just commented those 3 words. "But how did you know about her financial problems?" Did you know about her past before you commented? I did not. I had no idea about her history with debt or her previous relationship. The comment just came to me in the moment. Maybe intuition, maybe just seeing through the facade she was presenting. She was posting about being a perfect partner while attacking me, and something about that felt false. The comment was meant to suggest that if Trevor looked at the reality of his situation rather than the image Sienna presented, he might see things differently. And people who knew her history understood immediately what you meant. Exactly. Her ex-husband, her former friends, people who had seen this pattern before all recognized that the comment was hitting on something real. They started sharing their own experiences. Screenshots of the original post, and my comments spread everywhere. By morning, Sienna had deleted everything and blocked me, but it was too late. The truth was out. Imani shook her head in amazement. 3 words. That is all it took to expose her. 3 words do not expose anyone. They just point people toward truths that were already there. Sienna exposed herself through her own behavior. My comment just made people start asking questions. Do you regret it? I thought about that carefully. No, I do not regret it. I did not set out to ruin her marriage or cause her problems. I was not trying to get revenge on Trevor. I just responded to a public attack with a simple statement that turned out to be more accurate than I realized. What happened after that was a natural consequence of her own choices and history. We sat in silence for a moment before Imani spoke again. I am glad she is out of our lives now. The restraining order, Trevor staying away, all of it. We deserve peace. We do. And we have it now. The week after Thanksgiving, Rochelle came over for our regular Tuesday evening dinner. We were in the kitchen preparing food when she brought up the Facebook incident again. You know, I was thinking about that night when you left that comment. I remember you calling me the next morning, confused about why people were reacting so strongly to 3 simple words. You genuinely had no idea what you had stumbled onto. I did not. I was just tired of Sienna's need to prove something. The comment felt right in the moment, but I did not understand why until people started explaining her history. It was perfect though. Ask your accountant. Not aggressive, not defensive, just a suggestion that made people who knew her realize you had figured something out. Even if you had not actually figured it out at that point. I laughed. Sometimes intuition knows things before your conscious mind does. I saw something off about her, even if I could not articulate exactly what it was. Well, your intuition was dead on. And now look at you. Running a successful business, in a healthy relationship, watching your daughter thrive in college. Meanwhile, Trevor is rebuilding from bankruptcy and Sienna is legally prohibited from contacting you. The karma of it all is beautiful. It is not about karma though. It is about choices. I chose to walk away from a bad situation and build something better. They chose to lie and manipulate and blame others. Those choices have natural consequences. Rochelle raised her wine glass. To good choices and their natural consequences. We clinked glasses and laughed together, celebrating how far we had both come. The following week brought unexpected news. I received a call from a national news network asking if I would be interested in being featured on a morning show segment about women who built successful businesses after major life transitions. They had seen the article in Business and Health magazine and wanted to share my story with a wider audience. I was hesitant. National television meant exposing myself to a much larger audience, potentially inviting more unwanted attention. But after talking it through with Andre and Rochelle, I decided to accept. My story might help other women going through divorce or major life changes, showing them that it was possible to rebuild, to thrive, to create something meaningful from difficult circumstances. The segment was filmed 2 weeks later at a studio in the city. The interviewer was warm and professional, asking thoughtful questions about my career path, my consulting work, and what advice I would give to women facing similar challenges. You went through a difficult divorce and emerged stronger than before, the interviewer said. What would you say to women who are in the middle of that pain right now? I thought carefully before answering. I would tell them that this is not the end of your story. It feels like it when you are in the middle of it, but it is actually a beginning. You are being given the opportunity to rediscover who you are, what you want, what kind of life you want to build. That is a gift even though it does not feel like one at the time. And revenge? Did you ever feel the need for revenge against your ex-husband or his new wife? No. Revenge requires staying emotionally attached to people who have hurt you. It requires spending your energy on them instead of on yourself. I chose to spend my energy building a life I loved. That is so much better than any revenge could ever be. The segment aired a week later. My phone exploded with messages from friends, family, and people I had not heard from in years. The response was overwhelmingly positive. with women sharing their own stories of divorce and rebuilding. But there was one message that caught my attention. It was from Trevor. "I saw you on television this morning. You were eloquent and gracious as always. I want you to know that I am genuinely happy for you. You deserve all of this success. I also want to apologize again for everything. Watching you talk about rebuilding your life made me realize how much damage I caused, not just to our marriage but to your sense of security and trust. I am working on becoming a better person, but I know that does not change what happened. I hope someday you can forgive me completely, but I understand if you cannot. Take care of yourself, Naomi." I read the message several times. There was no anger in my heart, no resentment left. Just a quiet acknowledgement that Trevor was on his own journey, separate from mine. I typed a brief response. "Thank you for your message. I wish you well on your path forward. Take care." That was all that needed to be said. No long conversations, no rehashing of the past, just acknowledgement and closure. That evening, Andre came over and we cooked dinner together. While chopping vegetables, he brought up something that had been on his mind. "I have been thinking about the future. Our future. I'm not asking you to marry me right now, but I want you to know that I see that in our future. When you are ready, when it feels right, I want to spend my life with you." My eyes filled with tears. "I see that too. Not yet, but eventually. When Imani is settled in her career, when my business is even more established, when we have had more time to build what we have. But yes, I see that future too." He kissed me gently. "There is no rush. We have all the time we need." Later that night, after Andre went home, I sat on my balcony and reflected on the past year. From 3 words typed in a moment of tired frustration to national television interviews. From the pain of divorce to the peace of a life well lived. From uncertainty about the future to clarity about what mattered. The 3 words had not changed my life. I had changed my life through hard work, intentional choices, and refusing to let others define my worth. The words had simply been a catalyst, revealing truths that were already there and setting in motion consequences that were already inevitable. Sienna's life had fallen apart not because of my comment but because of her own patterns and choices. Trevor's business had failed not because of anything I did but because of his partner's spending and his own blindness to red flags. My success was not revenge. It was simply the natural result of doing good work, treating people with respect, and building a life aligned with my values. As I sat there in the cool evening air, my phone buzzed with a text from Imani. "Mom, I just watched your interview online. I'm so proud of you. You showed everyone what strength and grace look like. I love you." I smiled through tears and texted back. "I love you too, sweetheart. Thank you for being my biggest support through everything." The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run through my neighborhood. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. The air was crisp and clean. My body felt strong and healthy. My mind was clear and peaceful. This was the life I had built. Not perfect but mine. Not without challenges but filled with purpose. Not based on proving anything to anyone, but on living authentically and serving others. I thought about Sienna's Facebook post from over a year ago. Finally, he has a real woman who takes care of herself, unlike some people. The irony was that I had always taken care of myself. I had maintained my health, pursued my career, raised my daughter, built meaningful relationships. What Sienna meant was that she fit a certain image of femininity that she thought Trevor wanted. An image that required expensive clothes and perfect makeup and social media posts designed to make others jealous. But that image had been hollow. Underneath it was debt and deception and a pattern of behavior that destroyed relationships. I had never tried to fit that image. I was too busy doing real work, making real impacts, building real connections. And in the end, that was what mattered. My 3 words had not defeated Sienna. She had defeated herself. My 3 words had simply been honest, pointing toward a truth that others recognized once they started looking. Ask your accountant. 3 words that suggested looking beneath the surface. 3 words that implied something was not as it seemed. 3 words that turned out to be devastatingly accurate. But the real story was not about those 3 words. It was about what came after. The choice to focus on my own growth rather than someone else's downfall. The decision to build rather than destroy. The commitment to living well rather than seeking revenge. That was the victory. Not the Facebook comment, not Sienna's public embarrassment, not Trevor's financial struggles. The victory was in the life I had built, the relationships I had nurtured, the purpose I had found. As I finished my run and headed home, I felt gratitude wash over me. Gratitude for the hard times that had taught me strength. Gratitude for the betrayal that had freed me to find something better. Gratitude for the people who had supported me through it all. Life was good. Not because everything was perfect, but because I had learned to appreciate what I had, worked toward what I wanted, and let go of what no longer served me. 3 words had started something, but I had finished it. And the ending was beautiful.